So here is my sample e-learning course. I decided to build this in Rise 360, which is a rapid authoring tool from Articulate. This is something I actually use in my current job, so I was fairly familiar with the tool already. But unlike in my regular job, I didn't have a template to follow or anything, so it was a little more freestyle. Some of the benefits of this kind of align with some of the things we talked about in the course. One of the big ones is actually in terms of transferring data and data security. So Rise 360 allows you to export this course as a SCORM package, which then can be uploaded into a organization's learning management system. And that lets us do all kinds of things. It lets us track course completion, so we know who's done this and who hasn't. You can also, as you see, set this to track if there were quizzes along with the course. You could track the results, and this allows us to make sure that we're setting thresholds for how much of a course or how many points someone has to earn on an assessment to pass, or we can just set this as complete or incomplete. But having this learning in an LMS also gives us some security, right? We know who's taking the course. We know who has access to it. We can revoke access if necessary, and it kind of keeps all this data in-house, so we don't need to worry about any of that. So we'll jump into the preview mode to be able to actually see what the course looks like. So when a learner would access this course, they'd land on this page here. They can see what's coming, right? They can see this nice outline of the different lessons. So they could click on the first one to get started, or of course they can click up here where it says Start Course. The other nice thing about Rise 360 before we get into it is it also has some accessibility features that you can access this on any device, right? It wouldn't have to be your computer. It can be your phone or your tablet. It's screen reader compatible, right? So there's some other accessibility features that are very useful as well. So we'll jump into the course. So for my sample course, I decided to build something that would kind of be a professional development in a private organization. So in this case, it's a mentor position for someone who would be serving as a mentor to a new employee, right? So this would be a veteran employee kind of brushing up on some skills to help out a new hire. And so we have a short introduction here that's just explaining what the course would be, right? They're going to look at some skills necessary to be an effective mentor. In each of those lessons, right, they'll get some highlighted points. They'll get some helpful resources that they can go into. And then it's kind of positioning what they need to do to be successful in the course. So in my example, I decided to integrate this with Microsoft Teams. This is a tool very similar to Zoom, but integrated with the Microsoft Office suite. One of the great benefits of that is teams, right? The people within this can share documents, right? They can have shared file storage. They can bring in Excel files or PowerPoint presentations or Word documents into their meetings with them. And it just is a little more robust than what I found Zoom to be. It has the same kind of features of Zoom of, you can have, dozens or even hundreds or thousands of people in a meeting, depending on the license. You can share your screen. You can take control of presentations, right? So it doesn't have to be one person doing all the work. But at its just very basic function, you can get two people on a call, share a screen, and they can go through some of this work together, which is how I position this course, right? So anyone going through this course, working on becoming a new mentor, would have a partner that is doing the same thing. So you have that kind of built-in social function in which they can share their ideas, ask questions, and kind of talk about the courses they're going through without necessarily being in the same room as each other. So there would be a link to Microsoft Teams here where you could log in. Again, they would need a license for that. But once they have that, you can click through to the first actual lesson. So in this case, I highlighted engaged listening. And so it kind of talks about why a mentor would need this skill. Below that, it positions that they're going to watch a TED Talk video. And so there's some kind of questions to listen for as they're watching the video. The suggestion is that one of the partners kind of shares their screen and the two partners watch this video together. And then these will be discussion videos afterward. We have some directions here on how to play the video, but also if someone would like closed captioning, how to turn that on the video as well. And then the video is just embedded, right? And so it's actually taken from Ted's website, and you can just copy the embed link and drop that into Rise. So I won't play the video, but the other nice feature of this is if we did want to make sure someone watched the video instead of just skipping past it, you could set this continue button here to only appear once the video is complete. I didn't do that for demonstration purposes. And then this is how I've positioned the social function throughout the course, as these partner collaborations. So anytime someone going through this e-learning sees this Microsoft Teams icon, they'll get this big jump out text at them saying this is your first or second or third partner collaboration. And so they're actually supposed to step away from the browser here, go into Teams, and have a discussion. And so this specific one is asking them to discuss these 3 questions above the video. And it's asking about personal experiences, right? Have you ever experienced someone not listening to you? How can you tell if someone is listening to you? And what did you take away from the video? So once the partner's completed that, they can move on. So here now we're taking that skill and that information and positioning it specifically to what a mentor would do in this company. And so there's some main points here that the learner would need to go through and acknowledge. And then they're allowed to continue on. And so in the next section, we'll talk about giving effective feedback. And here's that lesson. So laid out very similar. I maintain kind of the same format for each lesson just to make it seem familiar to the learner, right? They're not particularly long lessons, but they follow the same general flow. So again, an introduction about why, another TED Talk video, right? Continue through that. And in this one, instead of having the partners discuss everything, we actually can do an interactive knowledge check right inside the lesson. And so the video, the speaker, the cognitive psychologist, Leanne Renninger, describes this 4-step process for giving great feedback. And so we're asking the learner to put those steps in order, right? And so how did they work out here? And go ahead and give it a shot here. Again, there's directions up here for how to navigate this activity. So we have everything matched up. We hit submits. Yay, we got it correct. And so these interactive quizzes, and there's different formats. There's this matching, there's multiple choice, there's some other options in there. You can set custom feedback. So you can either give feedback depending on a right answer or a wrong answer, or just general feedback regardless of what someone puts. You can make them required where they have to pass it before they can move on. Again, I didn't do that for time's sake. Here's another example. Right, so this is a fill in the blank. So after giving feedback, right, Leanne Renninger suggests you should always ask for feedback. You can type that in. Right, it shows you the acceptable responses. So again, there's some flexibility, so you don't have to worry about accounting for case sensitivity or punctuation or things like that. But you could put some different options in there to give people some wiggle room. Again, you get that feedback, and then we can continue on. And so here's my second partner collaboration where we're asking the partners to go back in and think of examples of when they received feedback, what worked well, what could have gone differently, and hopefully that would spark a conversation between those partners and teams. And then in a real training, right, we want to make sure that if people need more information, if they need resources, if they feel like they need a little bit more development, you can provide links to extra resources, right, or outside resources. And so I've linked to some articles here. And so you can see if you click on them, right, it's going to take you out to these external articles where they can learn a little bit more, dive a little bit deeper. But again, that can all be tracked back in the LMS too. So even just linking out to a website or an article, we could set that up for tracking. And then obviously, if this was a full-fledged learning, this would be much more robust. There'd be more than kind of 2 short lessons. But at the end, right, I wanted to make sure we kind of show how this would wrap up. And so just like they've been meeting with a partner, we're going to encourage them to meet with their manager when they've completed this, right? So they would go into Teams, they would use the calendar appointment function and set up a meeting. Before they do that, we want to make sure that they've kind of got the key takeaways from this e-learning that we were hoping for, these learning objectives. So we know a mentor should listen, we know listening requires full attention, and we know feedback should be objective and include an action plan. And so once they've acknowledged that they've received this information, again, they'll be pointed back to teams. And then they get a little note here at the end, right? Congratulations, you've completed this. And then kind of reminding them, right? If you haven't scheduled that meeting with your manager yet, go back and do that. But once you've done it, you can exit out to the LMS. And this obviously won't work because it's not integrated in an LMS right now, but that would take them out of this browser and back into the LMS to let them know what comes next. So overall, I really like Rise and I really like Teams. I think they work really well together. The Teams, or I'm sorry, Rise also integrates very well with things like Zoom and Optics and GoToMeeting and some of these other kind of virtual collaboration platforms. So I enjoyed creating the course. I hope other people had similar luck to me. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for a good semester.